Welcome to another podcast episode. My name is Oliver. Most people call me the coach. And I have with me the one and only, the man of the hour. He's into this thing called home inspection. Why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Derrek Denard with All Atlanta, a Concierge Service. Out of Woodstock is our home office.
Mm-hmm. So, we was in Woodstock last week. I was talking to a guy named Chris Tom out in Woodstock. And this morning I was like, you know what? I'm over here in the North Lake area, what we call Tucker, and I wanted to see if I can grab somebody of importance and substance to talk about the aspect of what every real estate agent sometimes have frustrations with, which is the home inspector. So let's go ahead and set a level of basic, because a lot of my audience are not only real estate professionals, they're just regular people. So tell us about yourself, tell us about the company, and what do you do?
Well, our home inspection firm is a franchise in Atlanta for 20 years.
Okay.
We the hardest thing now is the due diligence period.
Okay.
So with that, the leadership team decided we're going to push forward through that. And since the due diligence is so short, we staffed up. Because I want you to be able to call my office and we say yes. I don't want to say no. And we did that with intent before the due diligence period started, because we were running into that when it was 5, 7, and 10 days. So we just made a conscious decision to invest in our company and staff up. So if you call me, we're going to say yes.
So for those who don't understand the word due diligence, real estate agents should know this like the back of their hands. So once an offer is committed or submitted, a time frame in the contract gives a buyer an opportunity to go ahead and take a look at the property. And while looking at the property, they have a period of discovery. And if they're discovering defects of some sort, they can negotiate with the seller for repairs. So I understand the due diligence, but I don't think our audience understands the impact that you bring to the business. So what I'm trying to get you to help us understand is a due diligence thing, when it comes down to real estate, can make and break a deal, because what type of inspection items kind of cause these frustrations?
Wow. That's a broad question. My mind is racing with everything that we see. It depends on anything that's large or major defect in a home. We try to look at those first. And we kind of call those disclaimers. So we'll look at the foundation first. Those are big.
Right.
But each situation, the buyer may have a hot button with even as simple as paint color. And so we have to navigate through that. And we if they bring up things like that are minor to us, because we're the professional, we'll deflect off of that and talk about other things, mechanicals and electrical, foundational. So those short periods, there's only a short amount of time, and we need to be there as quickly as possible.
It's crazy, and I'm glad you picked up on the foundation piece to discuss, because in my mind, I'm saying, then most consumers, purchasers, are more concerned with the safety aspects first, right? So I know that when y'all guys show up, you take a look at the foundation. That's important. Then you start looking at the roof and the roof pitch and things of that nature. Is there a particular escalation, like, do you start on the exterior first, or do you go on the inside? What can people expect?
We will inspect however the client wants, based on their time frame. If they want to come later in the inspection, we'll do our normal routine, start on the outside. If they are there when we arrive and they have 30 minutes, then our inspector goes into a different mode and looks at foundation, mechanicals, roof, electrical, try to do it in that 30 minutes. So it's tailored to the buyer when they show up. And we always recommend that the buyer be at the inspection. We recommend the agent be at the inspection, because you get full benefit of our professionalism. So a lot of inspectors, they're typical inspectors. They don't want you around. Go away, let me do my thing, leave me alone. That's not us. We don't have anyone in our organization like that.
So tip for the buyers is, hey, listen, when you schedule these inspections, be there. Matter of fact, get there earlier.
Right.
You can get to walk around a little bit.
Yep.
So your folks kind of like concierge service from there. Do the buyer or the agent disturb you in your process? Because I know you're trying to appease and accommodate them. So how do you get this detailed inspection done with these folks looking over your shoulder? Carefully, right?
No. They do bother us.
Right.
But we don't let them know that. Because they are our client.
Gotcha.
They are our point of contact. We have a signed agreement with them, so there's pen to paper. And our inspectors will, when the client arrives, they stop what they're doing and look the client in the eye, engage in what their concerns are, get their concerns. They're welcome to follow us around. But a home inspection is usually very boring.
Oh.
Because they want to interact with you, but it's just making observations and recording and documenting any defects. So it's really a boring process.
But have you seen it escalate over the years whereby consumers and agents were like, this is the home inspection, we can correct those ourselves, to now it's like, so important.
If there's a defect, you don't own it until you go to closing, and then that defect becomes your defect. So we want to tell you all about the defects, and we would rather show you in person rather than a printed report with some photos, because you get full benefit of attending the inspection.
So when they have out-of-state purchasers that's trusting their real estate agent to get this done from them, and the real estate agent like, look, this is just a service. I'm not trying to take no responsibility. Do y'all guys get on the phone, or your team, females as well? No, shout out to the female inspectors out there. Don't want to discard y'all, because y'all guys are doing a phenomenal job making sure that residential properties, condominiums, and or townhomes are being inspected properly. But do you get on the phone with some of these owners and go over some of the defects so they can get a better explanation?
That is our practice. We communicate. I've said it for years, there's no such thing as too much communication. If you don't talk to someone, our inspectors call before they come, or they should. And especially when they're finished and no one has attended, I want you to communicate with somebody. You'll have an interim between the first and second inspection where you're on the road eating lunch, whatever. So we call the clients, communicate. We have a couple of inspectors who care so much that they recommended a Zoom. We can Zoom call right now.
Nice.
I can walk around and show it to you if they're out of state. Some of our inspectors don't have the capability, so they don't do it. But the ones that do, we recommend that. Always communicate.
Communicate.
Can you do it too much?
No, I mean, the key to it is I'm spending money. I'm about to buy this investment property, and the average price point home in the metro Atlanta area, and I know some of y'all guys is all over the world, but a single residential 3-4 bedroom, 2.5 bathroom property here, on average, is running between $350,000 to $379,000, and this is pretty much bare bone knuckles. So we hire you, an agent hire you, the client hires you, you go into the property, and you get to this thing called the HVAC. And outside, this thing looks raggedy, beat up, torn, but it's serviceable. Do you find yourself wanting to encourage a new system, or say, hey, listen, my job is not to tell you what to buy. My job is just to identify what's going on. How do you contend with that? Because this is Georgia.
Yep. The system works or it doesn't. If it is of 10 years or older, we always recommend to have a professional look at it and let you know how much life it has. There's no way for us to know that.
So it's a life cycle.
Right. Typically, in our report, it'll say they last 10 to 15 years. So if it's a 12-year-old unit, that kind of infers you have a few more years left. But we test it. We document our testing. So either it works or it doesn't. But if it's 10 years old, we're going to recommend a professional look at, because we're not an HVAC.
Get me out of that responsibility. I'm just telling you, we recommend that somebody else take a look at this.
But if it doesn't work, obviously it needs to be serviced, however old it is.
Right.
So we do test when the outside temperature allows us to test.
You know, in Georgia, there's a lot, slab properties. And for those who don't know what a slab property is that when they were building, constructing the property, they put it on this cement slab. And by putting on the cement slab, a lot of folks, older homes used to be on what we call crawl spaces, or they had basements. But a slab is straight up, this is what you got. Now, when you run into these properties that's on slabs, and you recognize that this foundation may have a crack. Some people say cracks, ceiling coming down, that indicate one thing, or from the ground going up. Can you explain to us what's the difference when we see a crack somewhere?
All concrete cracks and all drywall will crack. What we look for is correspondence. There's a crack here by the front door and it seems pretty wide. There's a crack above the front door that goes all the way to the second floor foyer. And so that corresponds. So something is moved to cause the foundation to move and the drywall to move. So we see those above windows and door jambs, because if you just see a crack and nothing corresponds with it, okay, the house does move. There is tolerance for the house to move when it's high winds. It's gonna rattle back and forth, and it's gonna move, and some sheetrock is gonna crack. But if we see cracked sheetrock with nothing in the foundation, there's no correspondence. We'll call it out and say, check it, monitor it. If a crack is of a certain width or any displacement, which is one piece has moved separate than the other, and there's displacement, that's completely different. If we see that displacement in concrete, then it's more significant, even if there's no correspondence. So there's a lot that goes into it.
Okay, so that's why professionals required.
Right. You're going to walk in the house, you're going to see cracks in the sheetrock, and you're going to go, oh my gosh. But if there's no foundational issues.
So let me chime in from a real estate perspective. Okay, we got the customer, the consumer or the client is over here now, and they get this 25-page, 30-page, 15-page report, and they're scared. Throw the house away. No way. I'm not buying this.
Yeah.
Just go. When you identify, or most people in your profession identify these defects, they're identifying them just to give you heads up. You're not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater. Right. We're saying these things could one or two things be cured, or you'll need to at least have a discussion about them, right, if other negotiations. Have you noticed a trend of property purchasers terminating the deals because of some of the things that y'all find?
Well,
that's a hard one.
Yeah. Yes. Again, it's on the individual.
Okay.
It's on the individual. So we're not a real estate agent. We're not going to advise them any real estate. We draw the line. Yeah. Once we catch ourselves getting to that point, we stop. It's not my job. I'm going to tell you what I see. I'm making no recommendations. You decide with your agent, because that's what you're paying them for. And we don't want to have the client feel like we're pushing them in any direction.
But let me ask you a question then.
Just the facts.
But you got the facts, but how much it's going to cost right now? You hear, we've been talking, do you get that situation where they want so how much in your professional portion, how much that's going to cost?
We get it every day, and we cannot say, we can speak from personal experience. If I have done an inspection and I replaced my roof on a similar house and it was $10,000, I can say, well, my house, I paid $10,000 for my roof. I don't know about your house.
Right. All roofs are different.
That's right. There's always a disclaimer, because we do not want to get caught being the realtor.
That's right.
That we stay in our lane. Just the facts.
So do y'all do re-inspections?
Yes.
So in other words, okay, the buyer and their agent communicate to the seller. And let me explain the process here during this aspect. Remember, he talked about due diligence. Due diligence is just the date on the contract that the purchaser have to do anything they want to do before they make a decision to move forward. It gives them an opportunity to withdraw or terminate the agreement based on ... So we're going through this process. You have the buyer agent, you have the client, that's the purchaser, and then you have the seller. So they take your report, they kind of like compress that report for the things that are important. Also, that the owner gets the whole report, so nothing is not materially kind of vacated there. So this report goes, and these two individuals, the buyer's agent, the seller agent, the client, and now the seller, are going over the report, and they're determining which things they are willing or unwilling to contend with. So have you experienced a situation where it got kind of crazy?
Oh, yes. That's why on the front end, if you had a pre-listing inspection, I'm going to list my house, I'm going to go ahead and get a home inspection.
Wow.
That's the best money to spend. I don't care.
Can I say breaking news? Breaking news from my real estate professionals. You take this $700,000 listing, and before you even get started, do what?
You do a pre-listing inspection. That way you'll know ahead of time and disarm the buyer's agent before the buyer's agent even comes, because you know what's going on.
So is it different in the pricing?
It's exactly this. It's the same work. It's the same report. It's all the same.
So, but if I'm, El Cheapo, I'm gonna let you find Waldo. I'm gonna let you find my defects, and then once you find my defects, then I'll talk to you about it.
However, if I find defects in a pre-listing inspection, now you're obligated to disclose that.
That might not be plus for the seller, right?
I know. I'm just laying it all out there.
Yeah, we're listening.
I'm just laying it all out there. So at an inspection, if we find a defect and the seller is there, we do not communicate with them at all. It's none of their business. They didn't pay for this information.
Nice.
Although it's their house and I'm a guest in their property. But we discuss nothing unless it's a direct safety issue for the occupants of the home. So then we will discuss
like a gas line disconnected
right,
or leaking, and you notice that, you're kind of obligated to say, hey, Mr. and Mr. Seller,
right,
I don't know if you know, but there's a gas, you need to call a gas company and get that checked. Go ahead.
Or any gas-fired appliance exhaust vent. If we see that, or any carbon monoxide we detect, anything like that, we disclose that right up front. But on the pre-listing side, I would want to know. I would want to know what a home inspector will find before they even, I would want to know. On the disclosure, you're going to disclose stuff anyway.
What about this mold stuff? Everybody keeps talking about, I see a little black in the corner. It's got to be mold. I'm going to die. What's going on, man?
We don't use the M word in our profession.
They use mildew.
We'll use that one.
We'll use mildew.
Because until I test it, I don't know that it's mold.
That's true. That's true.
And my report doesn't, it reflects that. It's organic growth is what we call it.
Right.
But if you want it tested, we can. Of course, we charge for that. And then you'll know for sure what it is. But once on the pre-listing side, we find these things, you can take care of it beforehand and then disclose that it was present and taken care of, whether it's foundation, mold, roof leak, plumbing leak, electrical, safety issues. It's already done.
So you're advocating the pre-listing. Now, in the world of real estate, things are moving really fast.
Yes.
Right? A person decides to list their home, agent determines the price, conditions, they stage the house, they get it ready, they put it out there. So now we're looking at slowing that process down in the middle of the summer to get a pre-inspection that's going to cost me some money, and it may cost me the deal if I recommend that.
Well, if I'm thinking about listing my house, so you call your real estate professional, and I want to list it in a month. I have some stuff to do, and she comes by, he comes by, paint this, do that, mulch that, paint this, fix this, get the house ready.
Aesthetics,
right?
Cosmetics.
Go ahead and do a home inspection, and then you'll know. And before you list it in that month or 2 or 6 months before you list it, you can go ahead and take care of some things right up front.
Nice. And that's a segue. If I'm future thinking about doing this at a particular junction in the future, this would be a win-win for all parties, especially sellers. Sellers, if you know you're going to list your house and you're not ready in the 90-day window, and your buy window or your sell window is about 180 days out, that would be the time, giving you the opportunity. So owners can make their own repairs, and it's not a problem.
Correct. If it's spindle spacing in the balcony for small children, you can go ahead and repair that. You don't have to disclose that. It's just you have upgraded the balustrades on the loft. You don't have to disclose that. If there's an exhaust vent leak, you don't have to disclose that. That's not on the disclosure statement. It's direct as of this day.
So if it's fixed, disclosure not required.
Well,
that tricky?
There are in the disclosure there are previous water. Those questions are in there.
Sure.
So you answer that, but you have repaired or made repairs to prevent that condition.
So preventive maintenance is a way of ensuring that you don't go through contracting phases inside of the deal and wind up with a list of things that you should not be surprised about because you had enough time to deal with that. I know I know your time is important.
Well, you just said the word surprised.
Ooh.
How many times have you listed a property, everything is great, you get an inspection, all of a sudden a condition happens that no one knew about? Well, someone has some leverage somewhere in that because it's a surprise.
Right, surprise.
The pre-listing inspection, there's no surprises. You can even not repair something knowing that it's coming, and instead of negotiating, the buyer's agent can negotiate X. Well, you've already got an estimate to repair X, and you know what those costs are. If we find 7 things that are a concern, you can not fix them, just know how much they cost.
Sure. Now they're going to ask you. They're going to ask you about the price of that.
Yeah, well, they're going to ask us, and we're going to deflect and say,
deflect.
And plus, we always shine the light on the realtor. Your realtor is the one who has the contacts for these repairs. Your realtor is the one, and now it's different in today's market. The buyer's agent is driving that transaction, not the listing agent. The listing agent used to drive. Now it's the buyer's agent does all the driving.
More responsibility for the buyer agent to ensure that particular prospecting customer client get into that particular home of their choosing. Hey, listen, I know that you're a busy person, and I want to give maybe a couple of more pointers or some tips. We got to wrap this, but let me ask you a couple. If you can give 1, 2, 3 tips to the real estate agent and to the prospective purchaser about the home inspection process, what would they be? And I want you this time to look into the camera and tell them.
If it's an hour and a half inspection, it's really not an inspection. We allow a 3-hour window for any inspection just because we're not in a hurry. When you're in a hurry, you're going to miss things.
True.
Every single time, no matter what you're doing. If you're listing a house, get a pre-listing inspection so you know up front what the conditions are of the home. Then the buyer, you have disarmed them ahead of time. That's key. We love the pre-listing inspections, and our agents that do it love it. 3, attend the inspection.
Yes.
You have to attend the inspection. You get full benefit of my staff. You get full benefit of their knowledge, and you get full benefit of the report. You understand it more if you're on site.
And this is a lot of money on the table. I mean, if you're a new purchaser, there's different type of purchasers. And you got those individuals who are repeat purchasers. And I don't know. I looked at it myself, or Uncle Junebug took a look at that. Uncle Hank took a look at it, and they say nothing wrong with it. They came and they kicked the door right here, and they shook the table, and everything's good. But that doesn't protect you. Real estate right now and the acquisition of real estate is so important that you want to make sure your money is being valued and that investment gives you a return somewhere down the road. But if you get caught with mediocre repairs that could have been headed off, then it costs you more money. And I still don't think the audience know who you are, because you're not only a service tech, you're part owner of one of Atlanta's most prestigious and longest running home inspection companies. So can we slow you down? Tell us again who you are. Tell us a little bit about your company, how long you've been in business, and what they can expect from you.
Derrek Denard, All Atlanta Inspections, 20 years, 27 years inspecting homes. We do thousands of home inspections per year, so we've seen it. We've seen it all, and you need to benefit from that. So attend the inspection, do a pre-listing inspection, and
you do partner with real estate company and firms, right? Because I know you're a partner with Metro Brokers, Better Homes and Garden Real Estate Metro Broker. So, but you do work with a myriad of different customers, correct?
Yes. Y'all are our number one, by the way. Just this quick segue.
Appreciate it.
Our relationship with y'all is long-standing, and that will continue.
That's good.
And I'm sorry, my phone is the phone's ringing.
Don't worry about it. Look, sometimes the phone take people off guard, but I think we got your message. So listen, how can we contact you more importantly?
Contact us via the phone. Our phone number is 770-734-0232.
Slow that down, man. Everybody know that I coach, I make you slow that down. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. 770-734-0232.
And do you have a website or are you on social media?
It is. We do. You can find us on just type in All Atlanta or Amerispec, and you'll find us.
All Atlanta or ReInspect, and you'll be able to find them. Again, we appreciate your time. We hope that the information that Derrek was sharing with you can actually position you properly if you're a real estate professional. And if you haven't selected a real estate agent or a professional yet, and you're a seller and you're thinking about getting ready to list your home, these tips can help you as well. Again, my name is Oliver. Most people call me the coach. You can find me at my website, oliveradams.com. On social media, it's Oliver Adams Coach or Coach Oliver Adams. Again, thank you, Derrek. I appreciate you coming out.
Yes, sir.
Spending your time. And listen, there's some great tips, and I think we all can benefit from them.
You can, yes.
Awesome. Appreciate y'all.